This is episode 179 of the Super League Pod. Get strapped in for results, stats and fan reviews from around the world of rugby league. Expect broken records and breaking news on your rugby league podcast, the Super League Pod. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 179 of the Super League Pod. You're here with Mark, your regular host, and this week my co-host is Sarah Scoots McKenzie. How are you doing, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. How about you?
I'm good, thanks. Welcome back to the show. You're obviously a veteran of being on SLP, but it's your second time as co-host, so thanks for joining us. And to pull back the curtain a little bit for the listeners, we're recording this in daylight hours, which is a different move for SLP, but it means I'll get to go to bed tonight at a reasonable hour, which is fantastic. So thanks for accommodating me this week, Sarah. That's been really nice of you.
No, it works well for me. It means I get the sofa to sit on while I'm recording because there's no one else in the house.
Well, as long as you're sitting comfortably, we could get settled in for a good couple of hours of rugby league chat. The first thing... Sorry, go on.
No, that's, yeah.
The first thing I want to ask you about before we get into the formalities of the normal sections of the show is an update on your young lad Joshua and the Mighton under nines. Is it now that we're
they are under nines now? Yes.
So obviously their season's probably got underway now, has it? With some training sessions and a few.
Yeah, they've had quite a lot of training. Unfortunately, a lot of their early matches were rained off. The pitches were unplayable. But they've had 2 festivals now, so they've played 4 matches. Big changes in the rules that they play this year. They've got much wider pitches to play on, so obviously that brings about new challenges.
Yeah, were you telling me that kicking is allowed this season?
Yeah, they're allowed to put grubbers in on the last tackle now, which Joshua is really enjoying doing.
So he's fancying himself as a scrum half now rather than a forward.
Well, he wants to be a winger, but he does like being able to put his kicks in. Good stuff. Yeah, and they're allowed to scoot now, but only once in a set.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's kind of gives them a bigger range of play, so developing the skills there. And there's a big day, isn't there, on Saturday?
Yeah, it's the Hull FC fan day before the match, so a lot of the kids' teams are playing in some format. So Joshua and the under-9s will be there.
That's fantastic. So if anyone's going along to Hull Castleford on Saturday afternoon, get down early and you might be able to see future star of rugby league Joshua McKenzie in action.
Yeah. I think it gets underway about 2:30, the matches on Saturday.
Right, brilliant. That's great. Right, okay, so we're going to go into the main of the show now. We've got some feedback from last week's show. Well, that explains what a wooden top is, because me and Tim were completely stumped on that one. In the news, there's some big Giants news confirmed just before we started recording, and also some bad injury stories to touch on. Then a full slate of games that we've got tons of reviews. You did a really good job of encouraging reviews this week, Sarah, because it was the most reviews we've had for a week this season so far.
Brilliant.
And then a quiz that I understand has been weeks in the making for you, Sarah.
It has. I had the idea, then I had some answers, and then I've had some questions, so it's all there.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to being thoroughly tested later on in the show. We're going to start with some feedback and shout-outs from last week's episode. Paul Michael Craig at PaulMac_78. He got in touch. He said, I liked Tim G Radio's point about not producing ball playing forwards. England's never going to beat Australia trying to be like Australia. Ball players like Sean O'Loughlin are a point of difference. Yeah, I think that was an interesting point that Tim raised last week. You guys have just signed one of England's probably better of recent times ball playing loose forwards in Joe Westerman. That's what prompted the conversation last week, I think. But he's not got on the pitch yet. What do you think?
Radford reckons it's probably going to be about another 3 weeks before he slims down enough to play.
And that is a fair point, because he did look out of shape at the Toronto Wolfpack, like he didn't really care because he was only in the Championship, seemed like his attitude, which hopefully he'll get that sorted out. But yeah, ball playing forwards, what do you think? You've got a good ball playing forward as well already in Scotty Taylor, you've lost one in Liam Watts. Do you think they make a big difference on the pitch?
I think they do. I think it's exciting to have your forwards who have got a good offload and, you know, can offer something a bit different as well.
Yeah, and I think the point kind of that what we do still have, even though we're not necessarily producing ball playing loose forwards, I don't know if you agree, is we've still got a lot of ball playing prop forwards like Taylor, James Graham obviously, but he's on the back at the later end of his career, but there's still those sorts of players that we're producing.
Yeah, I do think that it is something that we do well at the moment, England. And I would like to see those sort of players continue getting call-ups rather than us just trying to be Australia, beating Australia, as Tim was saying. Because they've got more experience of being Australia.
And we don't know how to beat them playing their game, that's for sure, like Paul says. Okay, moving on. Alfie Garner at Alfie Wolf said, Mark, excellent point regarding Hicks and Webster take a bow. This was where I pointed out that Rob Hicks made fewer mistakes in the game than Jake Webster did last week, and I'm pretty sure referees will be a topic of conversation again this week, and as they always are, but this week maybe whether they're helped by the video referees in the obstruction stakes. I think you've probably got a few things to say about obstructions this week, Sarah, in the game reviews.
Yeah, I think at the moment we can't get away from the fact that people just see the referees and what they do wrong. There just seems to be such a big talking point every week, and I don't think it's helped by Sky commentary because they just want to dwell on it so much.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, we end up talking about it all the time because we're kind of led by the way the listeners get in touch and what we have to say about stuff, and I'm almost certain that there'll be something in the reviews later on. Although we didn't get too much from any Hull KR fans that were at that game, so not as much Michalauskas abuse as I was expecting. But we will.
There was quite a lot on the listening to the local radio, just the radio presenters yesterday about bashing Mickey Mouse.
Fair enough. White Pie got in touch, and that's at White Pie, not white like the colour, white like the island. And he says, just listen to Super League Pod, and at least Tim Gradio sort of remembered that I'm a fellow Bees fan, while Mark Hill vaguely remembered I'm from down south originally. Not sure whether to be flattered they remembered ish or disappointed they weren't 100% sure. I mean, you think that I probably should have some sort of record of all the listeners? Well,
I did think, a listener database you should have, entering key facts about everyone. I'm surprised that you don't really.
Well, I do have one for the people that have been on hosting the show, and for the people that bought our jerseys that we did a few years ago.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't go as far as every single listener.
Maybe at the bottom of the Google form we should have, key facts about each person that they have to enter.
Yeah, well, my problem is I'm terrible with names and faces, even though I've got a really good memory for things. It's like I really struggle I really struggle with putting a name to a face. There's one thing I do struggle with. And as Alan Kerr will be able to remember, because last year at the Summer Bash he rocked up and I just couldn't recognise him at all because he wasn't in exactly the same clothes as he was. If I meet you when you're wearing either a hat or glasses, next time I meet you, turn up in the same hat and glasses, and if you need to take them off, then do so after I've reacquainted the face with the name, basically. But I've not actually met Lee in person properly,
Right.
So I'm really going to struggle.
When I was a teenager, I used to go to a summer camp, and the first activity we did was swimming. And then, everyone would get out and get dry and get dressed, and I couldn't work out who was who because they weren't in the swimming stuff anymore.
I'm totally with you on that. And do you know what else drives me mad? And we're getting towards that time of year as we move towards summer. Is huge sunglasses that women wear, and you'll be walking down the street and someone will wave at you wearing these huge sunglasses, and I ain't got a clue who they are because I can't see most of their face.
Yeah.
Rob at fatboy_Rob, sorry, got in touch. He said, "Boom, 5 out of 8 in the quiz. Amazing what I can do when it's not strictly rugby league related. Another great show, boys." Yeah, so that was the Twitter quiz from last week. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I'd recommend going back and having a listen to the end of it because it was a pretty fun quiz that who was it last week? Tim put together.
It was Tim, yeah. I didn't do very well on it.
Did you not?
No.
I'd have thought you'd have been hot on the listener ones.
I recognised them, but I couldn't put them to actual people.
Well, for those of you who haven't listened, it was basically Twitter bios and trying to guess who someone was from their Twitter bio. There was a few players and a few listeners, and it was good fun. I got too excited, I think, on the listeners one to guess.
It was a clever one. It was good. I liked it there.
We got some feedback in via Facebook. Please do like us on Facebook and comment and share and like the post because that's the easiest way you can really help grow the show, I would suggest. Ben Aldam got in touch. He said, "In Wakey White's review, I think he means a wooden top, like in boxing, a term for blokes who are big and strong but have no brains or guile."
Good to know. I'd only known wooden tops in the same way that you guys had as the police.
Yeah, so I suppose there are. I mean, they do have a lot of big forwards, don't they? At Wakefield, and people like Keegan Hurst and maybe Anthony England and I'm trying Tinner our owner and people like that. They don't really come across as being ball players, do they? So maybe they're the kind of people that Wakey White was getting at last week. Okay, we finish off with a talking point really from Karsten Brummer at Swiss_cowboy_78. And Karsten sent us a tweet on, I think, Friday, and it said, "Can you give your opinion on the new RFL streaming service on the next pod? I find it very expensive for the amount of games they will show. NRL apps get you the whole channel with replays." So, Sarah, for a bit of context, because I didn't have a clue what Karsten was on about, he'd received an email from the RFL about a new service that seems to be offered for overseas supporters, basically outside of UK and Ireland.
Okay.
Where they can, kind of like the Watch NRL app, sign up to stream all the live televised Super League games and Challenge Cup games through their devices, where in areas where they don't already have a TV deal in place. So I'd guess Australia's out as well, because Fox League have a deal with Super League to show all the games there. So it priced out at £70 for 50 games for the rest of the season, or 50-ish games, just over 50 games I think, or £20 a month. Now, compared to the Watch NRL app, which I think is about £140 a year, and you get every single game on that, it does sound a little bit expensive, but obviously we don't film every single game to the same sort of broadcast standards, so it's an interesting one, but a good, I mean, maybe not the right price point, and obviously we'd want all the games to be covered, but if we start selling this to fans abroad, one, it makes sure people can stay in touch with the game, and two, it brings in a revenue stream that can hopefully lead to more games being covered in a broadcastable way, even if it's only on the one camera approach but with a commentator and that sort of thing. What do you think about the idea?
I think it's certainly a positive, isn't it, that we're looking at getting the game out there, but as you say, you've got to be thinking about how much you're charging, really.
I wonder what research they've done. I wonder if they've just looked at the price point of similar-ish kind of things and gone with that, because the problem with doing that is the similar kind of services, the Watch NRL one, the NFL Game Pass as well, you can get for the same price point everything. So every game, every bit of analysis, all of the shows that are on the particular channel with, you know, either the Fox NRL channel or the NFL Network channel and that sort of thing. I think there's a similar thing with ice hockey and baseball.
Yeah, so they've price matched but not matched for what you actually get.
Exactly, yeah. So maybe they do need to think about that. I don't know what sort of introductory offers and trial periods and stuff like that, but if you are listening from overseas and you haven't had the email yet, get in touch and I'll forward on the email Karsten got to people. if Carson's okay with that, because it might give his email address away. Hold on, let me think. I'll forward a link to people that is on the email Carson sent me. There we go. And you can have a look and see if it works out.